Hello and welcome to the West Asia Post. I am your host Ghadi Francis, bringing you all the big developments in West Asia. In this show, we tell you the said and the unsaid about the region, decoding the stories between the lines, bringing you real, unbiased reportage. This week a lot has happened in the region. Before we dive into the edition of the West Asia Post, let's take a look at the major headlines.
Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince meets France President Emmanuel Macron in Paris. Mohammed bin Salman is in France to pitch Riyadh as a host for the 2030 World Expo event. US holds talks with Iran to sketch out steps that could limit the Iranian nuclear program. The two also discussed releasing some detained US citizens and unfreezing some Iranian assets abroad. Amnesty International says recent Israeli strikes on Gaza could amount to a war crime. Adds Palestinian militant groups should be investigated on the same charge for their rocket fire. Iraq signs several gas and infrastructure deals with Qatar as it welcomes the Gulf states emir to Baghdad as part of its push to secure foreign investment in reconstruction. UAE scraps screening of the new Spider-Man movie, says the movie is against the values of the kingdom. While the UAE did not make the reason clear, reports say display of a pro-transgender slogan in a scene is the cause.
Our top story is from the country I am standing in. For the 12th time in 1 year, Lebanese lawmakers have failed to elect a new president for the country. Now the political deadlock has further escalated the already bad situation. It has paralyzed the country. Economic crisis is driving millions into poverty, and still the politicians haven't been able to reach a decision. Now what is the problem? And can there be a solution? I bring you this report.
سليمان فرنجية 51 جهاد أزعور 59 زياد بارود 6 لبنان الجديد 8 ورقة بيضاء 1 جوزيف عون 1.
For the 12th time in almost a year, the Lebanese parliamentarians failed to elect their president. The West Asian country has seen a political deadlock that has worsened not only its political situation, but also its economy. Lebanon has already been without a head of state for more than 7 months, and now, once again, the country has slid deeper into a crisis after political alliances eyeing power neutralized each other's attempt to elect their candidates. What is actually governing is a truce after the civil war. There's no certain agenda that everybody is in line with. So this is why the Maronite president is not a simple task to find. Although the vote ended inconclusively, it did dial down political tensions as both candidates polled almost the same support. But neither had enough backing to get the required two-thirds majority. All 128 Lebanese lawmakers showed up for the election, but many left the chambers right after casting their ballot. Reaching a dead end once again, both alliances took up the route of negotiations, knowing that there is no way one can rule without the support of the other. But the proposed talks, aimed at buying time, also came with its own complications as both parties pushed to install their own candidate.
We consider there was an election and each candidate got the number of votes he got. The election of a president needs dialogue.
Would you consider a candidate other than Suleiman Frangi?
Our candidate is former Minister Suleiman Frangi is our candidate and we call for the dialogue.
You can't invite me for your dialogue to say your choice is Suleiman Frangi. Why would I have a dialogue with you to bring me to your side? I'm telling you, your choice destroyed my country and this is why you have to change your mind.
As the parliament stands fractured, regional observers say that, as in the past, foreign intervention may be required to break the political logjam. Back in 1989, it was Saudi Arabia's mediation that ended the civil war. For a country like Lebanon, when we talk about meddling or foreign meddling in the politics, it's not something new. When the country was formed around 100 years ago, it was foreign powers that agreed. When the country went into civil wars, it was foreign powers that fueled. And when the country went into truce in 1990, it was foreign powers that also governed. Today, everybody thinks that the politicians are only buying time until these foreign powers agree on what to do and how to govern Lebanon. Lebanon's political sources expect that the new rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran could play out soon, but it might not be immediate. As other issues like the Yemen war take precedence, France's new envoy is expected to visit Beirut in the coming days for a mediation effort. Even the US has expressed its concern over the political situation. Lebanon's complex confessional political system and the lack of a clear, unified opposition in parliament have made naming a new leader difficult. While leaders play the chess of governance, it is the Lebanese population that suffers.
They either don't know how to change or don't have the intention to. But the result is one. Lebanon and the Lebanese are the biggest losers.
This power vacuum, with neither a head of state nor a fully empowered cabinet, is unprecedented even for Lebanon, a country that has known little stability since its independence. From Lebanon to Palestine, President Mahmoud Abbas visited China last week. Xi Jinping and Abbas discussed something other than the bilateral ties. China suggested a peace plan for Palestine. How could this play through and what would it change in the dynamics of the region? Let's take a look.
A new negotiator has arrived in West Asia, China, a country which until recently was anything but synonymous with peace deals, but has entered the scene now. After brokering an unforeseen truce between historic rivals Saudi Arabia and Iran, China has its eyes set on resolving the decades-old conflict. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is in the Chinese capital. He has met with President Xi Jinping. The two leaders held talks, boosted bilateral ties, and displayed the strength of their relationship. The two leaders agreed to establish a strategic partnership. Xi said Abbas was the first Arab leader to be welcomed by China this year, which fully demonstrated the high level of bilateral relations.
Today we jointly announced the establishment of a strategic partnership between China and Palestine, which will become an important milestone in the history of bilateral relations.
I take this chance to express my deepest gratitude for all China's support for the rights of the Palestinian people and its rightful cause in all international forums, along with the support for the state of Palestine to obtain its full membership in the United Nations.
But the agreement was not what grabbed headlines. During the talks, Xi stressed on China's willingness to play an active role. in facilitating peace talks over the Palestinian issue. He proposed an international peace conference on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as he seeks to bolster his image as a mediator. Just like for the Ukraine conflict, the Chinese leader presented his three-point plan for Palestinian peace. As part of its proposal, China called for Palestine to become a full member of the United Nations. It suggested recognition of an independent Palestine based on the 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital. It called for increased development and humanitarian assistance to Palestinians, an end to escalations, and creating an environment suitable for peace talks.
In the face of changes unseen in a century in the world and the new situation in the Middle East, China is willing to strengthen coordination and cooperation with the Palestinian side to promote a comprehensive, just and lasting solution to the Palestinian issue as soon as possible.
Beijing has sought to boost its ties in West Asia, challenging American influence, efforts that have sparked unease in Washington. More so, it has recently become vocal on the Israel-Palestine issue as well. Even 2 months ago, Beijing offered to facilitate peace talks between both parties, when Foreign Minister Qin Gang spoke over the phone with their respective foreign ministers. Israel and Palestine have not seen substantive peace talks since 2014. There is no particular reason why the negotiations never picked up again. And now, even with China's proposal in sight, it isn't clear if Palestine or Israel are looking for a new mediator in the conflict.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was left shell-shocked after the parliament elected a member of the opposition to sit on a judge-appointing committee. The selection is to a panel that stands at the heart of the political battle over Israel's justice system. We tell you more.
It was a rebellion of his own. All is not well in the ruling Israeli coalition as cracks begin to appear in the House lineup. Prime Minister Netanyahu was left shell-shocked this week after the parliament voted an opposition member to the judge-appointing panel. On Wednesday, the Knesset was expected to elect 2 political representatives to the controversial 9-member Judicial Committee. The Committee for Appointing Judges, which among other things approves the makeup of the Supreme Court, has been a central battleground in the judicial overhaul plan. In usual circumstances, one political appointee is chosen by the government and one by the opposition. But several hardliners in Netanyahu's religious nationalist coalition had demanded that both positions be filled by those presently in power. A twist came at the last minute. Netanyahu pushed for more time. He ordered his nationalist religious coalition to vote against all candidates, a move that would trigger a new vote in the next month. What happened came as a complete surprise to Netanyahu. 4 members of the government used their secret ballots to support the opposition candidate. Karine Elharar was appointed in a 58-56 vote, while the second pro-government candidate failed to get enough votes to cross the threshold. The stalemate means the Knesset will still have to fill the second post within the month.
The vote was crucial because he lost it because of his own party and his own coalition. The vote on the appointment of the judges was crucial in terms of the continuation of the negotiation at the President's House with the opposition. Once he lost it, it means that the opposition is now taking back, and Netanyahu is under pressure from his own base to go back into the very harsh kind of legislation that transforms Israeli democracy, rules of the game from within.
The opposition candidate was elected. Despite scoring a small win, they decided to suspend talks until the second vacancy is filled.
The committee was not established. The threat to democracy is not removed. Netanyahu knew exactly the consequences. They were made clear to him by the president and by us. Without a committee to select judges, we will not arrive at the president's residence. No committee, no talks.
Netanyahu, on the other hand, slammed the opposition for backing out. He claimed it was Lapid and Gantz. They did not want real negotiations despite achieving what they wanted in the first place.
Benny Gantz and Yair Lapid said if their representative would not be elected for the committee to select judges, they will blow up the talks. Their representative was elected and they still blew up the negotiations. So Gantz and Lapid don't want real negotiations.
Meanwhile, dissent from within has raised questions over Prime Minister's control. The judicial changes remain a central goal of Netanyahu's far-right partners and some members of the Likud. But internal divisions are growing, fanned by mixed messaging from the Prime Minister.
Be it football or golf, West Asia is delivering big on sports. The region has been in the news for the last few weeks over its sporting master shots. But now the question is, can the cash-laden region really play sports to further its soft power agenda? Let's listen to this report.
Manchester United is up for sale. The club is among the world's most iconic sports brands. It has fans in every country. No club has won more top-flight titles in England than the Old Trafford-based outfit. Its American owners, the Glazer family, put the club up for sale last November, and a Qatari banker has emerged as a favourite to win the bid. A consortium led by Qatar Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani is reported to have offered more than $6 billion for total control of United. The exclusivity would mean that for a time, the club won't negotiate with any other bidder. The Qatari offer is viewed more favourably than a rival bid from British billionaire Jim Ratcliffe and his Ineos group. Ratcliffe's offer, though, leaves the Glazers with some stake in the club.
The Qatar bid looks cleaner on many, many levels, to fans, to the people that work at the club as well. But also, I guess ultimately, they've hit a point in terms of their bid that's got the Glazers to move forward in this direction.
If Sheikh Jassim were to succeed with its reported $6.3 billion bid for Manchester United, it would be a major coup for the West Asian nation, particularly given the club's storied past, worldwide fan base and marketing appeal. This is not the first football move made by Qatar. It hosted the flagship event, the World Cup, in 2022. While a few years ago, state-run Qatar Sport Investments bought French champions Paris Saint-Germain. For 2 years, world sports' biggest names, Lionel Messi, Kylian Mbappe and Neymar Jr. played side by side till Messi left last month. Irrespective of who acquires Manchester United, the recent rise in interest in sports from West Asian nations is unlikely to end anytime soon. And while the region looks at football as an investment, critics say these nations with a history of human rights violations are using sports for manipulating their public image. The term sports washing has been used for Saudi Arabia, UAE and even Qatar, as they continue to pool their oil money towards sport. The other big sports deal, the PGA Tour Live merger, is also witnessing drama from the stands. The Wall Street Journal reports the Department of Justice is set to investigate the planned partnership, but for lawmakers the issue is something else. Senators Elizabeth Warren and Ron Wyden have expressed concerns that this deal would sportswash the kingdom's human rights record. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Despite all the problems the crisis sees in Lebanon, there's always room for an inspiring story. Here's the story of Rana Hariq, a 29-year-old whose disability was no hurdle. She's a hero from Lebanon, getting ready to participate and represent her country in the Berlin Olympics. Let's take a look at this swimmer's inspiring story.
Participating in Special Olympics was never part of the plan for 29-year-old Elisa Harek. The accoladed Lebanese swimmer is passionate about the sport, but never expected to become a professional in the field. Suffering from Dandy Walker syndrome, Harik will be representing Lebanon in the 2023 Special Olympics World Summer Games.
I started by coincidence when coach Joel Uba, who is my swimming coach now, discovered that I swim and approached me to join the swimming group at Sesabel. I joined and I didn't imagine that I will be traveling to different countries, participating in competitions, and be a member of the Special Olympics Lebanon team.
Elisa won her first gold medal in 2013 at the Lebanese Championship for Special Needs. In 2014, she participated in the Special Olympics MENA Games in Egypt and brought home the gold medal. She ranked 5th in the 2015 Special Olympics held in Los Angeles and bagged gold at the Abu Dhabi 2019 Special Olympics World Summer Games. Ahead of the Berlin Games, the swimmer is training thrice at least a week. While the world sees her as a professional sports person, for Elisa it is an activity she enjoyed as a child.
When I get into the water and swim, I forget everyone. Because when you do what you love, you forget the world and don't feel the time passing. When I get into the water, even if I do the mistake in water, swim wrong or finish 5th or 1st, I don't care. Because I learnt at Sesabel. That's true, I have special needs and people sometimes look at us if we are weird. But we learned that we have a role and no one else can do it for us.
It makes Elisa happy when people recognize her on the streets. But for her, fame is not the ultimate goal. She wants to be able to teach swimming to people with disabilities.
We support her, but she gives us strength. She influences us more than we influence her. She inspires us with all the challenges she goes through and overcomes.
Elisa wants to be a support for special children. Just like her sisters were there for her and just like her parents held her hand throughout.
That's all we have for you on this episode of the West Asia Post. I will see you next week with a brand new lineup, bringing you always the most recent updates, stories, and news from a region that I call my home. Until then, stay safe. I am Ghadi Francis, coming to you from the heart of Beirut, Lebanon, and you're watching WION World is One.